Electricast. This episode is brought to you by Merrill. Join one of the most iconic names in wealth management, Merrill. You'll be part of a dynamic team of advisors and specialists working hard every day to grow their clients' wealth. And with the support of best-in-class research, advanced digital tools, and the resources of a global institution, it's truly an opportunity you can be bullish about. Learn more at careers.bankofamerica.com. Copyright 2024, Bank of America Corporation.
This episode is brought to you by CarMax. Searching for your next car? Don't settle. Thrive. At CarMax, it's easy to shop online or in person. With upfront pricing and tools designed to help, finding a car you love has never been easier. Plus, you can sell or trade in your current vehicle with an online offer in minutes. No strings attached. Start shopping now to find a car you'll love at CarMax.com. CarMax, the way it should be.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and I'm so excited to be speaking with my next guest. Today, we're talking with Jennifer Urezzio. Jennifer is the founder of Soul Language, a paradigm that puts tangibility to soul, so a conscious connection can be established to enable crystal clear decisions for success. Jennifer is also a master intuitive and the author of 2 best-selling books. Currently, she has trained over 30 practitioners worldwide in soul language, and currently there are over 5,000 individuals all over the world connecting to their soul languages. As I said, I'm so excited to have Jennifer on today and equally excited that we're going to get to dive into more about what she does. So let's get started. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, first, before we get started, tell us a little bit about your life, the woman, the personal side of your story, and then we'll segue into what you're currently doing today.
So quick version, I went to school for photography in the city, School of Visual Arts. I got out of there and went, I want to eat. And at that time, I didn't really have the kind of, I would say, the courage to put yourself out there as much as a photographer needed. So I got a straight job in corporate America in marketing and PR. And I spent 17 years booking people on things like the Today Show and CNN. But all the while, I knew that there was something bigger inside of me. So then through a series of stones, I was led to work with this woman who was an interesting, internationally known psychic, and she really helped me move into consciousness. And from there, I was working with master intuitives all over the country and really learning and understanding how I see information and how I could utilize it to support myself and others. And I was asked to speak at an event that a friend was hosting. She's like, there's going to be a ton of speakers. There was just me and her. And I got off the platform and there were people lined up to talk to me and ask me questions. And when I left that conference, I had 2 things. I had a business and I had a new kind of birth of an idea about how to put tangibility around soul, which was called Soul Language. So that's my 54 years in kind of a nutshell. And on a personal front, I have a crazy dog. She's an Australian blue heeler. I have an amazing boyfriend of 8 years. And I live in what we call the tree house. It's surrounded by trees.
I love that. And I love the story. We were just talking just before we came on, how your dog it feels like she is very, not necessarily needy, but she wants your time when she wants your time.
Yeah, and she's needy.
Well, I love it. And especially too, you also have a TED Talk, which I loved watching. And we talked about that as well. But I want to segue into more about what you were saying. So tell us more about that vision of soul language and how, I mean, I know you said that you were a speaker at an event, but how really did that soul language, like how that vision of it, how did it come about? What solidified it?
at that conference, I was sitting next to this woman and she went, "We're going to be friends." And I went, "Totally." And then my inside voice went like, "Why her and not this other woman across the way that I don't care if I ever see her again? Like, what is that?" And what I heard through divine guidance was, "Oh, that's soul language." And I had been asking some really big questions like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Where are my people? Because I'm really pissed off. And I started downloading this thing called soul language. And before long, I understood that there was 107 core energies of soul. We each have three, one in three different categories: your mission, how you feel that mission, and then how you'll be known here. Nope, sorry. Your soulful personality. Got a little lost in there. And I started identifying people. And I went back to that woman a couple of months later and I went, "I'm doing this thing and I like to identify your soul languages." And she's like, "Sure." And we found out that we had a language in common and soul energy in common. So, of course, when she spoke, I totally understood what she was talking about. Right. And from there, I started really helping people understand their soul on such a deep level. They're human, understand their soul on such a deep level that they were able to harness that power to create what they want.
I love that. I think a lot of the time we get so caught up in who are we out there, like to everybody else. And we're not even like focusing on who are we to ourselves. Like, who am I? Like, what do I really want? Like, what really lights me up so that it can become that purpose for me? And I think there's just so many exterior noises that are getting in our way that a lot of the time we often find ourselves thinking, well, that's what I should do, or that's who I should be. Like you were saying, like, why this person? Why not her over there? This person, why does this person seem to think that we're going to be friends? And why is she telling me that? And I'm not immediately saying that. Where does that come from? And I think that comes from answering those questions that you were saying.
And here's the thing. We're all on our own channel. We might think that we're on other people's channels, but we're really just all on our own channel. And the world is not happening to you, it's happening through you. So if you don't understand what you're putting into every relationship field, and we're in a relationship field with everything on this planet, then if you're putting your pain and programming and lack, and especially lack of self-love, self-care, then that's the reflection you're going to get back. And that's a painful place for me to be.
Yeah, I think for anyone to be, and especially too, we forget that what we are mirroring, the world is mirroring back to us our own realities.
Right.
But we're thinking, oh, the world is doing this to me. I love how you were saying, like, the world is happening through you because it's what you're putting out there that's coming back to you, not the world is doing everything to you and making life horrible or making it great. It's how we perceive it. So I love that. So as the founder of Soul Language, what would you say is the most rewarding part of guiding people to connect with their inner wisdom and soul's mission?
I love when I can energetically see that light bulb go off over their head. Like, I love when they finally fully or more accept that they are loved, supported, and provided for. I think it's the juice of everything. And I also love when I help people really understand where their energy leaks are in their business and in their lives. And when we close those energy leaks, when we close that unconsciousness, crazy, amazing stuff happens. Recently, I was working with a client and we were doing some internal work about lack and security and all of that. And she had a breakthrough. And I think a day later, she texts me and she goes, "Just want to let you know I got 2 new clients like 4 or 8 hours later." And that is what the profound impact that really understanding how to utilize your soulful power can have on your life. And that's fun for me. That's exciting. And talking metaphysics is really cool, right? I've always been, since I was a little kid, like, ooh, I want to be magical. Ooh, where's the magic in the world? Well, it's all around us. And so in working with people in that way, it feels pretty magical.
I love that. I think it's really nice that you have this helpful mindset. Like, you really, truly do want to help people to see, like, you're the one that's blocking yourself in a loving way. And that's how I like to work with anyone I do. It's not about seeing like point blank where I'm being aggressive in how I'm talking to them about what they're telling me, but it's more about, I want to hear how you really feel so I can understand how you really feel. So I can help you to see that part of like how you're really feeling is just those inner things that we tend to hide from other people and even from ourselves. And I think that when we can actually tap into like, okay, it's okay to feel a certain way and not feel ashamed of it and then ask for help. Because I think that's where the next step comes in is asking for help. That was one of the things that I had to really learn for myself was asking for help is not a sign of weakness. I was always looking at it as like, oh, it's a sign of weakness that I'm not good enough, that I'm not maybe qualified to do what I do. So asking for help would mean that I'm an imposter. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially I'm sure with you work with people who are in business, as you were saying, helping them remove those energy blocks is that they probably have that one thing in their mind. It's like, how can I actually show up powerfully and believe it without feeling like, ooh, am I really truly being authentic? Is this really me? Like, am I being an imposter? Because that was something, like I said, it stemmed from not having all the answers, but afraid to ask someone for help, for the fear of them judging me, for fear that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't qualified enough, which then led to that imposter syndrome. So I love that whole part around like how you want to help people in that and helping them look within because that's where the answers are. So I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, shame is, you mentioned shame. Shame's a dream killer, right? It's just going to suck the life out of things. And typically, warrior energy and highly strong women are afraid to ask, right? It's that, no, I got it. I'm always reminded about that woman in the post office several years ago. And, our post office has such heavy doors. And she has a three baby carriage with the three babies in the carriages and all of the packages on top of the baby carriages. She's trying to pull open that door. And I was like, can I help you? She's like, no, I got it. And I was like, yeah, you don't have it. And if you're not asking human beings for support, that's the way the universe, God, tree, Bob, cupcake shows us and supports us through human beings. It could send you a tree to help you, but that would be weird, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not asking for help from human beings, you're definitely not asking for help from the divine. And I think that ability to receive more is really linked to the ability to ask more, to ask for what you need. And here's the catch, everyone. To ask the appropriate person. Mm-hmm. Most of us are kind of locked in our programming. And so we'll ask those energies from our childhood that aren't going to provide, right? And so then we're like, see, we ask and we never get what we want. Yeah, you keep asking the wrong person, right? And so you really have to learn how to heal those parts of you that will, ask the right person or be open to receiving the right support from the right individual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say are some of the biggest benefits or changes that people experience when they tap into their soul language?
They experience a deep, profound sense of being safe. They experience the ability to express and utilize their divine voice. They understand their purpose and their delivery systems more. So purpose is what you're profoundly here to experience. And the delivery systems is how you express that experience or help others. They understand, they have a bigger sense of understanding that they are enough. They have a deeper sense of being connected to themselves and everything. And I think they're more in alignment with abundance and flow because they're not choosing separation. They're choosing wholeness and completeness. So that's a couple of things. At a practical level, you have a one-liner of your soul, and that becomes your mild marker of consciousness. If you're not being and doing that, you're creating struggle. So my one-liner is I create balance for myself and others through love, integrity, and courage. So if I'm not doing that, I'm going to create pain in my life. You have tools that you can use as an elevator speech to talk about what you do and who you are. You have words that you can use in your marketing. And you have a real reason about what you do and why you do it. And knowing that when you're in the unconscious use of your soul, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It just means that there's an opportunity for more goodness. I think there's this kind of trend to eradicate limiting beliefs. No, you have to determine what you want to do when that limiting belief comes up. Do you want to turn towards goodness, or do you want to get on the bus to like life lesson town?
I love how you actually brought up the getting rid of limiting beliefs, because for me, it kind of also goes alongside when I've talked to women that I've worked with around their emotions, and they just want to, no, I don't want to feel that way. They won't acknowledge how they feel. And so they just bury it. And what ends up happening is you bury enough of it, it at one point you're going to explode. It's the same thing, like how you feel. If you continuously bury, like, oh, I'm just going to keep going out. Maybe, for example, you don't feel like you know enough. So you're going to continue jumping on every webinar or every program, or, learning without implementing anything because you don't feel like you know enough. And you're just allowing that to be the thing that leads you. And so I love the fact that it's not about like taking that limiting belief of I don't know enough. Just it's like I don't know enough now. Or so how can I actually know what I need to
Right.
know? And that, yes, you can go out and learn, but knowledge is only good until it's not great until you actually apply it.
It's
And I
not good
think
until it
that's the
turns to
part.
wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah. So I really appreciate that you brought that up. So how might understanding your soul language help identify the types of self-care practices or environments that best nourish and restore you?
For instance, I think based on a person's soul languages, they have a deeper sense or an acknowledgement. I think so often we're trying to nurture or self care ourselves in ways that we've heard work. And we're not really asking our soul and our body what our soul and our body needs, or what the mind needs. And I think people misunderstand self care to like, let me get my nails done or let me have more sleep. All of those things are great, but profound self care is learning to self accept and love yourself. And the key to that is the soul is great at helping you do that. And so by understanding your soul languages, by connecting with your soul, you open up the door to extreme self care, which is self love and self acceptance.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you as far as self-care is not a one size fits all model. And a lot of people think, oh, there's this particular methodology about self-care that everyone follows, and there's just only one. And again, it's what is in alignment with you. And I think when people can actually look at it that way and say, oh, so I get to make it how it actually supports me, then they can like feel less pressure, because I can't, someone like who has maybe lots of babies doesn't have the same time availability in first thing in the morning to do things like I do. Like I get up and I have specific time. I have a couple of hours before I do anything work related that is just for me to fill my cup. Someone who has small babies that may not have 2 hours in the morning to dedicate to herself. It doesn't mean that she doesn't get to dedicate some time to herself, but her self-care is going to look so much different than mine. And that's okay. And I want people to start really embracing that. It doesn't have to look the same as everyone else. And again, it comes down to being accepting of who you are, not looking at yourself as being flawed, but just looking at yourself as having life lessons and what can you do with what you've learned. Like you were saying, the world is happening through you and not to you. If you can embrace that, I like that saying, because I feel like the other saying is life happens for you, not to you. And I think it's an opportunity for us to get involved with our day to day and actually experience life and be present and enjoying each day, so that when we years from now can look back over our lifetime, we're not looking back with like regrets of things that we didn't do, or limiting beliefs that kept us stuck because we weren't willing to ask that question, like, what do I want to do with that? How do I want to reframe it to support me in a different way? So that I think is really important.
Yeah, I was having breakfast with someone this morning, and I'm going to butcher this stat, but it was like something like 19% of people only 19% of people really like their job or really feel inspired at their job. That's a whole lot of other people that are just living for a paycheck. And that's draining. That's exhausting. And I think so often we tend to kind of go through life on autopilot because the kids have to be fed and we have to make our business goals or the dog has to be walked and we're not allowing ourselves to really be connected because all of those things will still get done, but there'll be a deeper sense of ease and a deeper sense of being in it and with it and one with it versus kind of going through the motions. I remember walking to the bus stop, I think I was in like maybe middle school. And I was walking with the girl that I always walked with who lived across the street. And I looked at her, I go, has that tree always been there? She's like, yeah. I was like, really? Because it had turned these beautiful colors. I walked past that tree twice a day for 12 years. And because it changed, I noticed it, right? When we're walking through this stupor of life, we don't want to have to get the tree to change or the 2x4 in the head to notice things. We want to be present in our own life.
Yeah. It's so important. And that includes like not just, as you were saying, you're walking down the street, noticing things changing around you, but it's also like taking time to be present in your interactions with people in your life, your family, your friends, your work colleagues. Perhaps maybe if you, especially as you were saying, that's a really staggering number, only if it's only 19% of people really actually have really any kind of joy of going into their job. What's happening with the other large percentage, the 81% of people, like, why are they so unhappy? And is it because they don't like their job and what they're doing? Or is it more personal that they don't like what's happening to themselves? And how can you bring that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. And first of all, I'm very impressed that you did the math in your head because that was brilliant. Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. And I think a lot of us live with a slow hum of mediocrity. We're like, oh, well, I have a roof over my head and I'm eating and, I have a boyfriend, I don't need to be full happy. I could have these moments of like fun. No, you're here to like really like suck the marrow out of life. So what is that going to take for self-care, for connection, for your job, for your finances, right? And really understanding what's the internal and then the external action of living the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I agree with that. So my last question to you is, what are some practical first steps that our listeners can take to start uncovering their own soul language?
I think the best way to start really creating a conscious connection with your soul is do it in the shower, because everyone has these great moments in the shower. You just take a deep breath, you tune into your heart, and you just go, what do I need to know today? And then I suggest you make some notes. You get out of the shower, of course. You make some notes. And then at the end of the day, you go back and go, oh, I felt or heard this, and this is how it related to my day. So you really understand how your soul is speaking to you or connecting with you or communicating with you. If you do that one thing, it will change your life.
I love that idea. I'm going to try that. Because when you're in the shower too, right? You're all warm and you feel really good. The water feels good. So to actually take that time and just think about like, yeah, how can I actually have the life that I truly want? And, because you're already feeling good. People go in there and they sing in the shower. If it starts with a song, great. And then go from there.
But it will give you that kind of, it allows you, because your mind is busy doing the shower things. It will allow that kind of deep connection to flow through easier and without a lot of struggle, and just play with it. Have fun. This is all not supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be joyful, and try not to keep sucking the joy out of your life.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing with us today. I am really, really happy that we've connected. I love what you're doing, and I absolutely love what you shared today. And it's really been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you. I'll make sure the show notes provide our listeners with how they can get in touch with you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a beautiful week ahead. And until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
For those of you who dream of a world where music and podcasts live together in perfect harmony, now, for the first time, Electricast gives you a magical compilation, Pod Till You Drop, Volume 1, where we give you the best in tunes and the best in podcasts. Feast your ears and hear the culture. Available now wherever you listen to music. Electricast.
Hey, heard you like podcasts. Well, check out Dollar Bets. Two sports guys with faces for radio, betting live money against each other on air. That's Dollar Bets with a Z. Find us on the Winner's Edge.
Electricast.